And thanks be unto God. Say his peace. Listen. The heavens are open. His spirit is flowing. Whatever you need. Whatever you need. Say, if you believe it, help me say it. Whatever you need. I came to encourage your heart. Whatever you need. If the heavens are open, it's pouring out a blessing that you won't have room to receive. Whatever you need, if it's joy that you need, if it's healing that you need, if it's peace of mind that you need, if it's fulfilling that you need, somebody open up and say release. When we say release.
All right, good afternoon, Middle Georgia. You're tuned in to 980 AM WDDO, and you are on with Don. The current time is 1:15, and it is time for Wisdom Wednesday with B. Scott Legal. I see you just fine. We on. Lady Scott, you there? Okay, y'all got to understand I'm dealing with the queen of technical difficulties. So we're going to see what we can do to get her up and running. All right. So we can do this Wisdom Wednesday. There you go. We're good. And it's on you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. All right, Lady Scott, what you got for us today?
I can't hear you.
Okay, we're gonna do it like
you
this.
Can hear me?
We can hear you. We're gonna do it like this. So we're gonna play this real quick, and we're gonna get Miss Technical Difficulties together, and I'll be right back with you. You're on 980 AM WDDO.
Good afternoon.
Pour your oil on me, let it fall down on me, from the top of my head to my feet. Pour your oil on me, let it fall down on me. I want your glory, want your glory. I want your glory, I want your glory. Here's my heart, and here's my soul. Holy Spirit, come in. Fill me with your consuming fire. I want your glory, want your glory.
Pour your oil on me.
Let it fall down.
To my feet.
Pour your oil.
All right, I believe we got everything worked out. B. Scott Legal, you on the line?
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you before. Go ahead.
Okay. How are you today, Bishop?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, so today we are going to talk about landlord-tenant dispossessory or eviction. We're going to change it up a little bit because I think this is a hot topic right now.
Right.
So, as always, the information today that is given is for informational purposes only. It should not be construed as legal advice. Does not create a lawyer-client relationship. Each case is different. If you need advice from on a specific case, please reach out to an attorney. And as always, you can reach out to us. All right. So I'm going to try to get through this. I lost some of my time, but we're going to talk about a brief overview of landlord-tenant and dispossessory actions. And then we're going to talk about the CDC order,
Okay.
which has been extended again
All right.
since until March 31st.
Okay.
All right. So if you have any questions as we go, just let me know.
All right, let me make sure I put that. Now, once again, we had some questions that came in, and she's going to address those questions in a segment. But if you have any questions or subject matter that you would desire for her to actually to touch on, send your questions to info@glorymediagroup.com. Once again, that's info@glorymediagroup.com, and she'll address those questions. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, we're going to talk about probate matters in a future segment, not too far away. Okay, so in general, when you establish a landlord-tenant relationship or when you're about to rent a place, you enter into a lease. And I know at the time that you enter into the lease, there are a lot of things going on. You have the application, the fees, and the background check. But I do want to caution or admonish you to, at some point, stop and to read the lease. And to make sure that if you have any questions, if there's something that you don't understand, ask questions, ask the leasing agent, ask somebody else, just to make sure that you understand, what you are signing. Because although leases have standard terms, they differ very, very, they differ in many aspects. And also when you do your move-in inspection, make sure that you take notes, because that's going to be important when you move out. Any promises, repairs, or any promises that they make to you, please make sure that you get them in writing. And even if you can't get them to sign off on something, once you're done, you can even email them and say, this is what we discussed at our move out or that move-in inspection. These are the things that need to be done. So what's important when you do enter into a lease is to make sure that you always get things in writing. I also want to admonish you that you may enter into a lease if you are a homeowner or you have someone living with you without even knowing it, or into a landlord-tenant relationship. If you allow somebody to live with you for a certain period of time, if you want them to leave, and if they don't do it voluntarily, you just can't call the police and have them leave, but you probably will have to end up filing an eviction. So be careful. If you have somebody living with you for a certain amount of time, if they start getting mail at your house, or if anything else like that happens, then at some point you may have to file an eviction, which is why sometimes when you want your children to get out the house, you have to file a dispossessory action.
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
Ooh, okay. So in order to put your child out, you have to do a dispossessory? Okay, wow.
Yeah. And those cases are really, really sad.
I believe it.
Most of the time, but yeah. Okay. Now, just in general, if you have problems with the lease, you can, during the lease, the landlord has the responsibility to maintain the building structure, to keep the electric, heating, and plumbing in working order. I didn't say air conditioning. The electric, heating, and plumbing in working order, and to exercise ordinary care in the unit and keep access safe for the tenants. That's under Georgia law. Okay.
Okay.
The things that they don't have to do is they don't have to repair any defects that were obvious during the move-in inspection, which is why you want to make sure you pay attention in the move-in inspection.
Mm-hmm.
They're not responsible for carpet cleaning, and truthfully, they're not responsible for air conditioning and appliances unless your lease says something different.
Okay.
And so, right. So during the lease, if there are any issues that need to be addressed, if there are any repairs that need to be done, you need to make sure that you get those in writing and give them to the landlord. Again, as official as the official writing is wonderful, a letter, but if you have an email, even text, make sure that you put in writing that this is what you need to do, because you want to memorialize the date that you asked them and what you asked them to do, and especially if they don't do the things you asked them to do.
I have a question. In an instance like that, would it be feasible to do something like make a video while you're there, or record what's being said, or should you just?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay.
It is, to make a video of what's going on if the landlord allows you to make a video of when you go through the house, or take lots of pictures also.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
A lot of times when you're moving in, a lot of people don't do that.
Uh-huh.
But when you're moving out, that is important also. Okay. Now, during the lease, again, you want to make sure you put everything in writing. Now, if you have issues and you can't get the landlord to respond, then there are a couple of options that you have. You can, file a lawsuit while you're there in the lease, saying, "Hey, these are some things that need to be done in my unit or in my property, and the landlord is not doing them." You can repair and deduct, which means that you can make repairs yourself, and you can deduct them from deduct the cost of those repairs from your rent. You got to be careful there. That's something the Georgia law allows, but you do have to be careful because you want to make the landlord can challenge whether the repair was necessary. They can also challenge whether it was a reasonable cost. You can also contact the local housing authority if things get really bad and have them come out and do an inspection. And a lot of times you'll find that they will mark some issues and will cite the landlord. And also, finally, there's this constructive eviction where you can move out. So a lot of people use the term constructive eviction when they are talking about reducing the rent. But you have to make sure that you understand that if you're going to use constructive eviction, you actually have to move out of the house or out of the dwelling. Okay. And you have to, then if you do that though, you're going to have to make sure that you can show that the house was not inhabitable or that you just couldn't live there anymore. If you are not able to show that, then you may have to pay out the rest of your lease. So constructive eviction means you actually have to move out of the house. And I meant to start with this. In Georgia, pretty much, if you are living in a place, then you're going to be required to pay rent. Okay, so if you're living there, if you're dwelling there, if you're there, then Georgia law requires that you pay rent. For the most part. And that's the attitude or the thought process when you go to dispossessory court. All right, so those are some options. Now, if at some point the landlord feels that they have to file an eviction, or you come to the end, or let's say you can leave the house two ways. You can leave at the end of the lease. Your lease will tell you about how it should end, leaving, and whether you can renew and what kind of notice that needs to be done. And at that point, you have to follow the rules in Georgia for security deposits, because that's a big topic that comes up at the end of the lease, are very, very specific. They have very specific time frames and dates. It's too much to go over today, and I don't think I'm going to get to everything else I was going to say today. It's too much to go over today, but you have to make sure that you know those and that you understand those dates and times, because if you, as a tenant, violate those, then you might not get your security deposit back. But also, if the landlord doesn't do this, and many, many, many times landlords do not do this right, then you can get damages, and sometimes up to 3 times over your damages, meaning 3 times over your security deposit back. So it's important to know those and to follow those and to make sure that the other party's following those, so that you'll know when you have a case. And security deposit cases are separate from any type of eviction or any type of dispossessory action. So do you want me to try to talk about evictions, or you want to wait till next week?
We can wait till next week.
Okay. So I will say this: there is a landlord-tenant handbook in Georgia, which makes all of this plain and clear. It's called the Georgia Landlord-Tenant Handbook. It was revised in July of 2020. You can do a Google search and find that, and it'll give you a lot of this information that I'm talking about today. So next week, we'll start talking about evictions, and then we'll talk about the CDC order in more detail.
Okay, excellent. So the highlight of everything was simply this: if you are in Georgia, and you're living in the place, it is expected that you are paying rent if you don't own it. Correct?
Correct.
All right.
Correct, pretty much. And I used to say that the laws, I did this for a long time, are really skewed toward landlords. And so that's why tenants feel like they have a hard time when they go to court.
Mm-hmm.
But if you understand in Georgia, you're expected to pay rent if you're living there, then you'll understand a lot of times what happens in court.
And any other agreement that you have with the landlord, you have to either have proof of it so that it can stand up in court, or just have it in writing, in general, so that all can be well with it. But either way, you need to be very astute in your dealings in order to make sure that you're covered, right? In a sense.
Yes, you want to make sure everything is in writing.
Okay.
Everything from the lease on. There are oral leases, and they can be enforced. But you want to make sure that everything that you do is in writing. Okay. And therefore, because when you go to court, the only thing that the judge is going to have is your word against the other person's word, unless you have things in writing.
Okay. Excellent. All right, B. Scott Legal, we appreciate you. Please let everybody know how they can contact you if they need services or further information, please, ma'am.
All right, you can always contact us at 1-833-4B-SCOTT or 833-427-2688.
All right. So don't forget, every Wednesday at 1:15, Wisdom Wednesday with B. Scott Legal, and she gives good legal information, not legal advice, but gives you good legal information. You may not have needed the information today, but know someone that did need it. Please make sure you either tag them in this video, or you can forward it to them, or matter of fact, you can just, give them the information so that they would have it and be able to do it. B. Scott Legal, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for calling in. And we'll see. You're
welcome. We'll get it right next week, right?
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully you won't have the technical difficulties that you had today next week.
I don't know if it was my fault or your fault.
Oh, no. We can see and hear you just fine. So we know where the error was. So we'll leave that alone. All right. Okay.
All righty.
I have dubbed you the queen of technical difficulties. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Or was
today.
it the internet that you provided for the home?
No, the internet I provide for the house is actually better than the one here. All right, so you all have a wonderful afternoon. How about that?
Okay,
so it's definitely user error. So thank you so much again.
All righty. I'll talk
for
to
being
you later.
on. All right, thank you. We appreciate you.
All right.
All right. All right, that was B. Scott Legal. Every Wednesday at 1:15, you can tune in and get you some good legal information. Now, if you have any questions that you specifically want her to answer, what she's doing now is going through questions that come in, and we will address them in the order in which they come. So if you send a question in, it's going to happen real soon, but as your questions come in, we'll actually put them in place, and she'll talk about that because just like you have a question, a lot of other people have questions too. So please send any questions you have to info@glorymediagroup.com, and we'll forward those questions to her so that she in turn can then address them on air, just so that we'll have good direction on what to do and how to make things happen. Thank you all so much for being the best part of WDDO. We got some more good gospel music coming up for you right after these messages.
Mike's Medical Pharmacy, 1377 Pioneer Avenue in Macon, is safely serving Macon and the Middle Georgia area. The friendly staff is awaiting to assist you. Call in your prescription before, during, and after hours at 478-742-1448. That's 478-742-1448. Let them deliver to you for free or pick it up at their convenient drive-thru. Mike's Medical Pharmacy Services. They're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Saturdays from 10 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. Mike's Medical Pharmacy, 1377 Pioneer Avenue in Macon. They're waiting to serve you.
Hello, Middle Georgia. Is that Hank in that truck? Yes, it's Hank's food truck. Doggone it, any way you want it, dog. Yes, that's Hank's food truck. Call him now, 478-227-0547. He's catering your every need. Yes, Hank's food truck. Toppings, you name it, he got it. It's in Hank's food truck. Hot dog, Hank got it. Sausages, Hank got it. Italian sausages, Hank got it. Brad sausages. Hank got it. Yes, Hank's Food Truck. Call him now, 478-227-0547, or email him at hanksfoodtruck@gmail.com. The grand opening is coming to Middle Georgia real soon. Call Hank today, 478-227-0547.
Join On with Don as he takes you through the midday rush. Tune into On with Don, Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. for your inspirational foot stomp and hand clapping gospel favorites. It's On with Don on WDDO.
Dad always said there's two ways you can practice law. You can either be a jerk or you can be a gentleman. I prefer the latter. If you need us, the Dozier Law Firm is here for you.
I don't think I used the word jerk.
We're proud to welcome to our Sunday Let's Have Church broadcast Apostle Susie E. Jones and the Ministry of New Life every Sunday evening at 4 p.m. on 980 AM WDDO, the glory of Middle Georgia.
You're my closest friend. You're better to Rance than I am to myself.